Being true to yourself means carrying the weight of who you are, even when it's heavy. Being a Sigma male is no small feat. You walk a path most people wouldn't dare to tread, carving out your own space in a world that demands conformity. You don't seek validation. You don't beg for attention. You don't play by anyone's rules but your own. And while that's your greatest strength, it's also the reason you face challenges that most people can't see or understand. People admire your independence and mystery, but let's be honest, it can be lonely at the top. Not everyone gets you, and not everyone is willing to try. They might think you're cold or distant when in reality, you're just selective about where you place your energy. That's power, but it comes with a price. This video isn't here to sugarcoat your reality. It's here to shine a light on the unspoken struggles of being a Sigma. But it's also a reminder that these challenges don't make you weaker. They shape your resilience and wisdom. So if you've ever felt like your journey is harder than it should be, this is your sign to dig deeper into your power. Watch till the end, because no one talks about the dark side, but it's time someone did. Number 1, they often feel like outsiders everywhere. Even in a room full of people who share the same interests or values, a Sigma often feels like they're standing on the outside looking in. It's not because they don't belong, it's because they don't feel like they belong. Their unique perspective, the way they see the world through a lens of independence and introspection, sets them apart. They don't naturally fit into any mold, and frankly, they don't want to. The problem is, this constant detachment can feel like an invisible wall. While everyone else seems to find it easy to bond over surface-level connections, Sigmas crave something deeper, something authentic. But here's the twist. That very craving for depth often makes shallow interactions unbearable, leading them to retreat into themselves. They end up being the quiet observer, analyzing the group dynamic rather than fully engaging in it. Even in their closest relationships, Sigmas sometimes feel like an enigma to the people who care about them. It's not that they're distant on purpose, it's just that their inner world is so complex, it's hard to translate it into words others can understand. This isn't loneliness in the traditional sense, it's a quiet, gnawing feeling that no matter how much you try, no one will ever truly get you. But here's the truth. This sense of otherness is what makes a Sigma extraordinary. It forces them to embrace their individuality, to think differently, and to carve out their own path. The world needs outsiders, the ones who don't conform, the ones who challenge the norm. So while it's not always easy to feel like you're on the fringes, remember this. You're not meant to blend in. You're meant to stand out. Number 2, they struggle to find mentors. For a Sigma, finding a mentor often feels like trying to find a needle in a haystack, if that needle even exists. The way they think, the way they approach life, and the way they reject conventional systems make it almost impossible to find someone who truly gets them. Traditional mentors tend to operate within the lines of the status quo, but a Sigma doesn't just think outside the box. They question why the box exists in the first place. This self-directed, independent nature means they're usually left to figure things out on their own. While others lean on established advice, Sigmas are out there trial and erroring their way through life, learning the hard lessons firsthand. It's not that they don't want guidance, it's that they struggle to find someone whose wisdom resonates with their unconventional path. And honestly, how many people can mentor someone who refuses to follow the typical roadmap? The downside? They often waste time reinventing the wheel, solving problems that someone else might have already cracked. The upside? The solutions they come up with are completely their own. In the process, they develop skills, insights, and resilience that no mentor could have handed them. Sigmas become their own teachers. They take bits and pieces of inspiration from books, experiences, and observation, crafting their own philosophy instead of adopting someone else's. While this path is undeniably harder, it's also what shapes them into the one-of-a-kind individuals they are. If you're a Sigma, embrace this struggle. Yes, it's frustrating to walk a path with no guide, but the fact that you're forging it alone means you're creating something entirely unique, something only you could bring into the world. Number 3. Being needed feels suffocating. For Sigmas, Being needed isn't flattering, it's suffocating. While the world celebrates being indispensable as a badge of honor, Sigmas see it as a hidden chain. They don't thrive on being someone's constant go-to or emotional anchor. Instead, they feel like every favor, every reliance, slowly chips away at their freedom. What others view as responsibility, they often see as an obligation, a trap that sneaks up on them in the form of, "You're the only one who can help me." It's not that Sigmas are cold or uncaring. In fact, they'll help when it truly matters, but they refuse to be tethered to anyone else's expectations. The thought of someone depending on them too much feels like a weight that's always there, no matter how much they try to move forward. For a Sigma, freedom isn't negotiable. It's their core. Anything that threatens it, even in the form of good intentions, feels like quicksand. This resistance to being needed often confuses others. People may misinterpret it as selfishness or aloofness, but it's really about survival. To a Sigma, freedom isn't just a preference, it's their lifeblood. They fear that becoming someone's lifeline will eventually leave them drained, resentful, and unable to focus on their own growth. So if you're a Sigma, here's the wisdom. It's okay to set boundaries without guilt. Caring for others doesn't mean sacrificing your autonomy. You're not here to carry everyone's weight. You're here to navigate your path, unburdened on your terms. And that's not selfish, that's balance. Number 4. The exhaustion of being constantly misjudged. Being a Sigma means carrying the weight of constant misjudgment, and it's exhausting. People look at their quiet confidence and assume they're cold. They see their independence and label them antisocial. They watch their selective socializing and decide they're loners. None of these labels are true, but Sigmas don't waste their time correcting them. They've learned the hard way that explaining themselves to people who've already decided who they are is a losing battle. But here's the thing most people don't understand. Every one of those silent judgments takes its toll. A Sigma may not say a word, but they feel it. Every glance, every offhand comment, every misunderstanding is like a small jab they endure without flinching. Over time, it becomes draining, not because they care what others think, but because they're constantly navigating a world that doesn't take the time to see them for who they really are. And the cost of this silent battle? It's isolation. Not the kind of isolation Sigmas choose because they do enjoy their solitude, but the kind that comes from realizing most people will never bother to understand their depth. It's the quiet frustration of knowing you're constantly underestimated or misread, and that no amount of effort will change it. But despite the exhaustion, Sigmas don't let these judgments define them. They draw strength from their authenticity and let their actions speak louder than any stereotype. The wisdom here is simple. Don't let the world's misunderstanding dim your light. You're not here to fit into their boxes. You're here to thrive outside of them. And in the end, those who matter will see you for what you are, unapologetically yourself. Number 5. Silent sacrifices that go unseen. For Sigmas, sacrifice is a quiet, invisible act. They don't announce it, and they certainly don't expect recognition for it. But make no mistake, the sacrifices they make are real and often heavy. They let go of things most people would cling to, social connections, relationships, opportunities. Not because they don't value these things, but because they value their own peace and independence more. Turning down deeper relationships might look cold from the outside, but for a Sigma, it's a calculated decision. They know that opening up fully often comes with strings, expectations, obligations, and compromises that can weigh them down. They sacrifice the comfort of companionship to stay true to themselves, even when it means facing solitude head-on. Opportunities are another quiet sacrifice. They may walk away from promising ventures because the cost to their freedom or values is too high. While others chase success at any cost, Sigmas step back, choosing peace of mind over applause. It's a hard choice, but they make it without hesitation, knowing that not all wins are worth the price of losing yourself. The hardest part? No one sees these sacrifices for what they are. From the outside, it might seem like they're simply disengaged or uninterested. But beneath the surface, they're constantly making decisions to protect the life they've built, a life that's authentically theirs. Here's the truth. These silent sacrifices aren't weaknesses. They're strengths. They show the courage it takes to prioritize what truly matters, even when the world doesn't understand. So if you're a Sigma, remind yourself that these choices aren't losses. They're the foundation of the freedom and self-respect you've worked so hard to protect. And that, more than anything, is worth the price. Number 6. Success draws unwanted attention. Success, for a Sigma, is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's the result of their independence, hard work, and relentless focus. On the other hand, it draws people they'd rather avoid, opportunists, manipulators, and parasites who see their success as something to exploit. For a Sigma, thriving isn't just about achieving their goals, it's about staying vigilant, constantly evaluating who's around and why they're there. The problem is Sigmas don't flaunt their success. They don't parade their wins or seek validation, but their quiet competence speaks louder than any boast ever could. This understated power attracts the wrong kind of attention. People who mistake their humility for an opportunity to latch on, manipulate, or leech. This forces Sigmas into a mental game of constant analysis. Every interaction becomes a puzzle to solve. Why are they approaching me? What's their angle? Are they genuine, or do they want something from me? It's exhausting, yet unavoidable. And the worst part? The very success they've earned through solitude and effort becomes the thing that threatens their peace. But here's the twist. Sigmas don't crumble under this pressure. They've mastered the art of detachment. When they sense ulterior motives, they don't lash out or cause a scene. They quietly distance themselves, cutting off access without giving the opportunist the satisfaction of a confrontation. For Sigmas, success isn't just about reaching the top. It's about defending what they've built from those who didn't earn it. So if you're a Sigma, stay sharp. Protect your energy, set firm boundaries, and remember, just because your success attracts attention doesn't mean you owe anyone a seat at your table. Let your silence speak louder than their motives. Number 7. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. For a Sigma, freedom is priceless, but it comes at a steep cost. The ability to stay independent, unshackled by expectations or external control, is hard-earned, and it requires constant vigilance. Sigmas don't fall into traps, not because they're lucky, but because they've trained themselves to stay alert at all times. They scan the room, read the subtext of conversations, and analyze every gesture, every word, every hidden motive. This skill keeps them free, but it also keeps them on edge. There's no off switch for a Sigma. Relaxing is a foreign concept because even in downtime their mind is always ticking, always assessing who's trustworthy, who might be playing games, and what the real agendas are. They can never truly let their guard down because the second they do, they risk being manipulated or controlled. So, while they may seem calm and collected on the outside, inside their mind is in constant motion, analyzing every detail. This hyper-awareness might seem like an asset, but it comes with a hidden toll: burnout. It's exhausting to always be switched on, to never have the luxury of a carefree moment. And even the most self-sufficient Sigma can eventually hit a breaking point when the weight of eternal vigilance wears them thin. The hard truth? There's no escaping it. The price of freedom is a never-ending watchfulness. It's a double-edged sword. It keeps them safe and independent, but it also keeps them isolated in a mental cage of their own making. So, if you're a Sigma, remember to take breaks where you can, but understand that the nature of your freedom requires a constant balance, staying sharp while managing the quiet exhaustion that comes with it. Number 8. The invisible burden of responsibility. Sigmas might seem like they have it all figured out, operating outside of traditional hierarchies and not relying on anyone else. But the reality is far from liberating. It's heavy. While they pride themselves on their independence, it comes with an invisible burden that most people don't see. Because they don't lean on others, the weight of their success, survival, and emotional state falls squarely on their own shoulders. There's no safety net, no one else to blame if things go wrong. The pressure to keep everything afloat, to stay self-sufficient, and to maintain emotional balance can feel overwhelming at times, while others can lean on a network of friends, family, or colleagues for support. A Sigma's support system is often an internal one. They trust themselves above all else, but that means they're the only ones who can pick themselves up when they fall. This constant self-reliance is often misunderstood. People assume that because Sigmas don't need help, they don't feel the weight of their responsibilities. But the truth is, it's a quiet, invisible pressure. Every decision, every move they make, is a step toward maintaining their hard-won independence. And that's not always easy. It's not just about surviving. It's about staying true to themselves while navigating a world that constantly expects more. No one notices when a Sigma pushes through burnout, or when they hold their emotions in check to keep their focus sharp. But for Sigmas, this burden is part of the price they pay for their freedom. And in many ways, it's what keeps them standing strong, even when no one else sees the weight they carry. Number 9. Their energy attracts conflict. A Sigma's presence is a force, subtle but undeniable. They don't have to say much or even assert themselves to make waves. Simply by being true to who they are, they unintentionally provoke conflict. Their very energy, self-assured, independent, and unbothered, can trigger insecurities in others. It's like a magnetic force, drawing both admiration and resentment in equal measure. For some, the Sigma's quiet confidence is a threat. People see their self-reliance and independence and feel challenged. They might try to undermine or belittle them, hoping to knock them down a peg. Others might try to engage in power struggles, trying to prove their superiority or force the Sigma into a more passive role. Either way, it's the same pattern. Conflict follows them, whether they want it or not. What's frustrating for a Sigma is that they never sought out these battles. They aren't the ones instigating fights or trying to dominate, they're just doing their thing. But their mere existence, free from the expectations, chains, and compromises that others live by, becomes a living, breathing challenge to those who are uncomfortable with their own limitations. And while Sigmas can navigate these power plays with ease, it doesn't mean they're immune to the toll it takes. Constantly facing these hidden conflicts, these subtle jabs, can wear anyone down. Even though they don't engage in the drama, they still feel the impact of being a target. The truth is, a Sigma's energy is both a gift and a burden. It attracts those who want to tear them down and those who envy their strength. But here's the key. The Sigma knows how to handle it. They don't waste energy on unnecessary battles, but they also won't back down from defending what they've worked hard to build. They thrive in their own way, untouched by the conflict others try to create. Number 10. They don't want your help, but they need it. Sigma males are fiercely independent. They take pride in handling things on their own, navigating life with a self-reliance that sets them apart. But here's the catch. No one, not even a Sigma, can do everything alone. The problem is, asking for help feels like a gamble they're unwilling to take. For Sigmas, help isn't just an act of kindness, it's a potential power shift. Accepting assistance means letting someone in, surrendering a piece of the control they've fought so hard to maintain. And with that comes the fear of hidden strings, expectations, obligations, or even the subtle manipulation of being reminded they owe someone. For a Sigma, these invisible debts are suffocating, a direct challenge to their autonomy. Yet deep down, they know they can't always carry the load alone. They feel the strain of going solo, the weight of endless self-reliance. The internal battle is relentless. On one hand, their pride and fear of entanglement keep them distant. On the other, their human need for support and connection quietly calls out. This push and pull can be isolating. While others might see a Sigma's refusal of help as stubbornness or arrogance, it's really about survival. Trust is rare for them, and the idea of depending on someone else, even briefly, feels like stepping into quicksand. If you're a Sigma, understand this. Needing help doesn't make you weak. It's okay to lean on others, not because you're incapable, but because no one is meant to do it all. True strength isn't about controlling every piece of the puzzle. It's about knowing when to let someone else hold a piece, even if just for a moment. The right help doesn't trap you. It empowers you to go even further. Number 11. People mistake their independence for arrogance. For Sigmas, independence isn't about arrogance, it's about survival. They've learned to rely on themselves because they know no one else can walk their path for them. Yet the world rarely understands this. Their self-sufficiency, their preference for solitude, and their refusal to chase approval often get misinterpreted as arrogance or superiority. People mistake their quiet confidence for coldness, their boundaries for aloofness. It's easier to label them as standoffish than to recognize what's really happening. They're simply focused. Sigmas don't feel the need to broadcast their achievements or seek validation because they're not living for anyone else's applause. This can make them seem distant or uninterested, but the truth is, they just value depth over shallow interactions. This misunderstanding creates a strange dynamic. While some admire the Sigma's independence, others feel threatened by it. Their refusal to conform or seek external approval can make people uncomfortable, sparking assumptions of superiority. But Sigmas don't operate from a place of ego. They operate from a place of purpose. They're not trying to prove they're better than anyone. They're just determined to live life on their terms. Still, it can be frustrating to constantly be misjudged. Sigmas often feel like they're walking a fine line between being respected and being resented. But instead of letting the world's opinions weigh them down, they stay true to their principles. If you're a Sigma, don't let these misconceptions shake you. Your independence is a strength, not a flaw. Let people think what they will. It's their story, not yours. Keep moving forward, not for validation, but for the quiet satisfaction of living authentically. After all, the ones who truly matter will see your independence for what it really is, a testament to your inner strength and self-reliance. Being a Sigma isn't for the faint of heart. It means walking a path that's often misunderstood, carrying burdens others can't see, and holding on to a level of independence that sets you apart, but also isolates you. The dark side of being a Sigma isn't just about the struggles you face, it's about doing so in silence, without the validation or understanding most people rely on. But here's the thing, being a Sigma female is a testament to your resilience. You've chosen authenticity over convenience, depth over superficiality, and freedom over conformity. That takes courage, a kind of quiet, unshakable courage that few possess. Yes, the road can feel lonely at times, and the weight of self-awareness, independence, and constant vigilance can be exhausting. But those struggles shape you into someone extraordinary. You're not defined by the labels people try to put on you, or the misunderstandings you encounter. You're defined by your ability to stay true to yourself, even when the world doesn't get you. And that's what makes you remarkable. So here's the wisdom. Your independence isn't a flaw. It's a strength. Your self-reliance doesn't mean you're alone. It means you're capable of building the life you want, not the one others expect. And your ability to navigate the dark side of being a Sigma proves that you can handle whatever life throws at you. Remember, you're not just surviving. You're thriving in your own way. Own it. Embrace the challenges because they're what make you unstoppable. You're a force, and the world needs people like you, independent, authentic, and unapologetically unique.